50 beat up Ja Rule in Atlanta.
Crazy, man.
Gilly said, hold on, go back to that part.
The story doesn't end with Tony Yayo's retelling or Ja Rule's explosive response. There's a crucial layer beneath the memes and emojis, the long-standing animosity that shaped both men's careers. In the early 2000s, 50 Cent and Ja Rule dominated headlines, releasing diss tracks that became central to hip-hop's beef culture.
50 beat up Ja Rule in Atlanta, like, rest in peace to Chaz. I know 50 ain't really.
Whether it was 50's Wanksta or Ja Rule's clapbacks, fans were glued to MTV, BET, and radio stations to hear the latest shots fired.
I'm just truthful, like real street shit. I tell y'all, cause y'all a street show, that's why I with.
What made their conflict resonate so deeply was how it fused music and personal history. 50 Cent often painted Ja Rule as inauthentic, accusing him of singing on hooks and leaning too heavily on R&B elements that commercialized his image. Ja Rule defended his style, pointing out that he'd scored #1 hits and found a formula that worked. Meanwhile, both camps had connections rumored to be tied to real street backgrounds, intensifying the sense that the feud was more than just studio talk. This backdrop is why people still perk up when new tidbits emerge, even comedic ones. A scuffle in an Atlanta hotel, if it happened, might seem minor in the grand scheme of old rumors about stabbings and shootings. But the story's comedic spin and Tony Yayo's portrayal bring everything to life in a way that resonates with modern social media culture. In an era where barbershop talk gets recorded and broadcast to millions, once-forgotten anecdotes can resurface as fresh news. Yayo's chain-snatching angle, coupled with the claim of Ja Rule sporting a bruised eye, forms a narrative as entertaining as it is humiliating, for Ja, at least.
So look, Ja Rule just come in the elevator, murder!
Yet the comedic angle also highlights how memorable retellings can overshadow any quest for truth. People aren't necessarily listening to Yayo to confirm historical accuracy. They're tuning in for the jokes, the swagger, and the sense of insider scoop. When Ja Rule dismissed it as cap, fans instantly took sides. Some believe Yayo 100%, citing the well-documented aggressiveness of G-Unit's early days. Others side with Ja Rule, insisting Yayo's version is a manufactured tall tale designed to keep G-Unit relevant. That polarization fuels more debate, more podcast commentary, and more social posts. In short, it feeds the hype machine that's kept this rivalry alive for 2 decades. Amid all this, Ja Rule's reaction stands out as especially intense. He posted clown emojis, referenced rats, and recounted what he insists are the real legal entanglements, implying G-Unit members had protective orders or that they sued Murder Incorporated. He also threatened to deliver a beatdown if push came to shove, though it's unclear if that's genuine bravado or posturing for social media. Some fans see his strong words as evidence that Yayo's story struck a nerve.
So look,
He didn't say that. He didn't say murder.
Others see them as a standard Ja Rule response whenever his name is dragged through the mud. One aspect fans keep circling back to is the mention of lawsuits or orders of protection. Historically, both G-Unit and Murder Incorporated were entangled in legal controversies ranging from label investigations to personal disputes. The fact that these are being rehashed now underscores how new media platforms can reignite old gossip. A throwaway comment by Yayo about chain-snatching leads to Ja referencing alleged legal moves from years ago, and suddenly the entire timeline of who sued whom is back under scrutiny.
Nigga, Fifth KO'd that.
Younger fans who never experienced the original feud in real time might find themselves diving into archived articles and old interviews to piece together a puzzle that's never had a definitive solution. Another intriguing angle is the comedic approach of Urban Politicians TV in analyzing all this. The host pointed out that even if Ja Rule did lose a fight or get his chain taken, it doesn't necessarily tarnish his identity as an artist or a man. In hip-hop, losing physical confrontations was once seen as detrimental to one's reputation, especially when so much emphasis was placed on toughness and authenticity. But the comedic retelling by Yayo, and subsequent comedic commentary, almost transforms it into an anecdote for barbershop banter. If anything, it suggests that the culture has shifted, Fans are more open to hearing about vulnerabilities or slip-ups, as long as the story is entertaining. This shift might also reflect the fact that both 50 Cent and Ja Rule are well past their days of aiming to top the Billboard charts with every single release. 50 Cent is now deeply involved in television production, brand endorsements, and other ventures that have made him a cultural mogul. Ja Rule, while still performing and releasing projects, is known for various entrepreneurial efforts outside music, for better or worse, considering Fyre Festival's legacy. For Tony Yayo, interviews and podcast storytelling can be a way to maintain relevance and share war stories from G-Unit's heyday, turning recollections into content. In that sense, retelling the Atlanta altercation through a comedic lens might be as much.
I'm not a rapper. I never was with this rapper shit.
Yet from Ja Rule's perspective, this is more than marketing. It's an attack on his image. He might have left the peak of his chart dominance behind, but that doesn't mean he's willing to let false narratives float around unchallenged. Indeed, his social media meltdown, filled with threats and reminders of alleged protective orders, suggests he feels a strong need to defend his legacy. In a genre where respect is hard-earned and easily lost, letting comedic stories of humiliation spread unchecked could be detrimental. Ja's not about to let that happen, even if it means reigniting a feud many assumed was dormant. Another point to consider is how these stories can overshadow the actual music. For years, fans have lamented that the drama between G-Unit and Murder Incorporated took center stage, often eclipsing the artist's creative output. Diss tracks might boost streams in the short term, but they can also distract from an artist's evolution. With the feud newly stirred, some fans wonder if it will overshadow any musical projects 50 Cent, Ja Rule, or Tony Yayo might be working on. Then again, the argument can be made that any publicity is beneficial, and that the hype might prompt younger listeners to explore the back catalogs of these artists, inadvertently boosting their streaming numbers. Interestingly, the comedic style resonates with a broader phenomenon in today's digital culture. Podcasts and YouTube channels thrive when they present stories in a lively, memorable way. Tony Yayo's interview is a case study in how to capture attention. He sets the stage with behind-the-scenes nostalgia, then drops a shocking claim about a physical altercation, sprinkles in comedic one-liners, and builds up the legend of 50 Cent's unstoppable presence. People who hear it are drawn in because it feels both nostalgic and brand new at the same time. A piece of rap history reserved as a comedic slice of street lore. For listeners, the big question remains: did it really happen like that? Maybe the confrontation took place in a far less dramatic fashion, or maybe it never happened at all. In hip-hop, sometimes the myth is more important than the mundane reality. When asked for proof, like photos, hotel security tapes, or eyewitness testimony, Yayo doesn't provide anything concrete. Ja Rule's furious denial doesn't exactly fill in the blanks either. Instead, he simply counters that Yayo is lying. The net effect is a story that's neither fully validated nor completely discredited, leaving fans to gossip about it endlessly. And that's precisely the formula that has kept 50 Cent and Ja Rule's rivalry in the public eye for so many years. If there's any silver lining to all this, it might be that it shows how rap feuds can evolve. In the past, such stories would lead to an escalation of diss tracks, public spats on radio shows, or worse, actual street violence. Today, it's largely playing out on Instagram and podcasts, with comedic retellings fueling most of the flame. While that doesn't negate the underlying animosity, it does suggest a certain level of restraint compared to the early 2000s. Instead of rendezvousing in the streets, these guys are battling for the most viral soundbite, an arguably safer outlet for a feud that once felt legitimately dangerous. Yet, the comedic pivot also has a haunting effect on those old enough to remember how serious it once was. They wonder if this new approach dilutes the fact that real individuals face threats or harm. Some fans question whether laughing about old violence trivializes it, while others see this evolution as a healthy sign of aging, an acknowledgement that these men have families, careers, and lives that shouldn't be wrecked by an endless cycle of revenge. Either way, the shift underscores how the culture and the artists themselves have changed over time. No matter how you slice it, the Tony Yayo versus Ja Rule saga is just another chapter in a feud that refuses to be forgotten. It showcases the power of storytelling, comedic spin, and social media in bringing long-dormant conflicts back to life. Even if you find it frivolous, you can't deny that it's effective in re-engaging fans and spotlighting a pivotal era of hip-hop. And for Tony Yayo, it's an opportunity to stand out from 50 Cent's shadow, taking center stage in a narrative that typically focuses on 50 and Ja. While Yayo has always been part of G-Unit, moments like this give him a chance to be the narrator, controlling the lens through which fans revisit these legendary feuds. Ultimately, the question is whether we'll see any resolution, or if this comedic retelling will simply fade away until the next spark ignites. Based on the pattern, don't be surprised if something else sets Ja Rule off in a few months, or if 50 Cent responds with a tongue-in-cheek Instagram post. The cycle is well-worn but still captivating to those who love the drama. After all, conflicts like these are a foundational part of hip-hop's storytelling tradition, where legends are built, battles are mythologized, and comedic retellings are half the fun.